What's up, everyone? Today we are here with Meagan Connley, who is the owner of Presence with Love. And Meagan, I met you probably a couple of years ago, and you really focus on the somatic side of things. And I remember sitting down with you, and we were in the little meditation room that we have here, and I was like, your presence is just like so calming, and just because I was looking for a yoga instructor to come and do some yoga, and you were like, I only do Yin Yoga, and at that time I don't even think I knew what Yin Yoga was, honestly. But then you explained it, and I was like, that sounds amazing, because for myself, we would always go through like the faster flow yoga, which there's nothing wrong with that, but sitting in a pose, it can be strenuous, but also it just sounded nice. But we talked for quite a while that day, and I just really appreciated your presence. And then from there, now you do you hold a women's circle here, and you did the Yin Yoga, but you're kind of just taking a break from that here at this moment. But anyway, it's just been nice to have you, and I'm super happy to have you on the podcast and to chat with you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yes, you're welcome.
I'm really excited to be here.
I appreciate it. So, first thing I wanted to kind of touch on is the somatic side of things. Like, what is somatic for the people that don't know? What does somatic mean? I was actually really quick talking to my jujitsu coach today, and I was like, yeah, today I have a girl named Meagan on, because he's going to be on the podcast. I said she does somatic work. I was like, do you know what that is? He was like, no, I don't know what that is. And I was just like, I feel like everybody should know what somatic work is, but anyway, so yeah, if you want to just kind of right.
Cool. Yeah. So somatics is a really broad term. The root of it really just means like of the body. So when we think about our body, it could really be anything. The way that I'm approaching it is coming from the modality of somatic experiencing, which is a program for trauma resolution. So this is a 3-year training that I'm moving through, and as part of the experience, I'm receiving somatic work for myself. I'm consulting about client work, and we're really exploring how do we heal trauma through the body, through the nervous system. And when we think about somatics of the body, our emotions are in our body, sensations are in our body. We can see images and color in our body. Our movements, our impulses, our posture, our facial expressions, and our thoughts are also in our body. So we're working with all of those different channels and really kind of helping to bring it back to what do I feel and what do I notice and what wants to happen next. A lot of times we override what's happening in here, and that can be a form of trauma when we're shoving things down, repressing, not allowing, we're ignoring, we're constricting, and we're kind of working with what else is here.
I love that, and I the first time I heard of somatic, I think she said somatic experiencing or something along those lines, but it was from a massage therapist that I knew, and she was going through the training for it as well. And she we sat down and we were talking about we were basically, we were talking about an issue that I had, and she was kind of explaining, like, we start to take note of, when you're talking about that topic or something, where do you feel it in the body, and like, do you notice your leg starts twitching or something, or just things like that. And I thought that was an interesting way to look at it, because I've always known that we hold stuff in the body, but then there's the whole other process of like actually getting rid of it, because like we all hold stuff in our body and we're like, oh, I have this anger and I know it's making my back hurt or whatever it may be. But then it's like, how do we get rid of it? So what type of people or situations or topics of things do you work with people with the somatic experiencing?
Yeah. And what's coming up for me is a big part of how I work with somatics and how I think somatic experiencing approaches this is we're not really trying to get rid of anything. We're trying to integrate. And there's a way that trauma can be like stuck in certain ways. And I'm not saying like, oh, your trauma is stuck in your hips, so if you open your hip, then it's going to be gone. But there's a way that our body takes on certain postures, or we take on certain behaviors and patterns over time where we keep repeating things and we're feeling stuck in the past, stuck in something that didn't get to complete. And what we're really trying to do is how do we transform that and bring it into the present? How do we like catch things up to we're here right now and nothing needs to go away. There's nothing that's bad or wrong that needs to be released, and we just breathe it out. It's a part of us, and it
That's
gets to be paid attention to and held and witnessed and seen, and then it can maybe shift into something different.
that's crazy, honestly, because I don't ever think of it that way. The closest that I've kind of came to looking at it that way is just someone was having kind of a spiritual awakening and stuff, and she was like, I am seeing my shadow self a lot when I'm in meditation, and it's creepy, but I feel like I need to like not get rid of it or like be afraid of it. I feel like I need to embrace it and like,
Mm.
and I was like, that's a really good way of looking at it. So not the same as what you're saying in a sense, but kind of the same as what you're saying. And I think that looking at it as like something that you're catching up, almost like it is something stuck in a way, but it's not stuck like we need to get rid of it. It's like stuck in the past kind of thing. Is that would that be correct with saying that?
Yeah, yeah, I think so. Something we kind of talk about with trauma is it's not the thing that happened, but it's how the thing made you feel. It's what
Mm.
happened inside of you because of that thing. And we might be holding on to emotion that didn't get to express, protective responses that didn't get to happen. So we think about if we're really little and something happens to us and we wanted to fight, but we couldn't. We weren't strong enough. We knew it wasn't going to work. We knew it would actually harm us if we started fighting. So we didn't do that thing. But our body still wants to. Our body back then wanted to. And if we don't complete that and let it finish, it's going to be kind of like hanging around and just waiting, looking. Where can I finish? Is that the person? Is this the thing? Is this the time? Like when does that get to end?
Wow. And that kind of brings me to something that I heard one time. I don't, this is kind of a little bit off topic, but do you have you ever heard that like when we get surgery
Mm.
and we're under anesthesia that our body is actually like fully experiencing all of that and there's trauma that's held there? Have you seen anything like that in your experiences so far?
Yes, yeah. So somatic experiencing specifically does support medical trauma and
Uh,
anesthesia. It is part of the training and the experience that we're moving through. And anesthesia is kind of like a forced freeze response. So if we think about fight, flight, freeze as nervous system survival states, when we are under anesthesia, it's like we're making our body go into freeze, but that doesn't mean the rest of our body isn't also online wanting to fight this person, like, get off of me, don't do that to me, this is painful, or I don't like this, or you're crossing boundaries. So there are definitely ways that just because our conscious mind isn't online doesn't mean that other stuff isn't happening. So that is definitely something that we work with.
that's something that when I heard that I was like that. I mean, it makes sense, but it's just something you don't really think about until you think about it. Then you're like, that makes perfect sense because something's happening to the body.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it kind of goes back to your other question of like what are we working with somatic. So yeah, people wouldn't necessarily think, oh, I had that procedure and I was fine, right? Like we use the quotes, I'm fine and everything worked out and nothing bad happened, but something happened to your body, your nervous system. So medical procedures is one thing we work with. Car accidents, falling, sports accidents, even if you again are okay, something is happening to your body that can be really overwhelming. A lot of times when we fall or get in an accident, we kind of like hurry up and like rush to the next thing and we don't let our body complete the thing that wanted to happen. And so those are different things we can work with. I mean, all kinds of trauma, abuse, neglect, things like that. So many things that I know are really tender and hard and difficult to face. And through somatic work, we're really trying to do it gently. How do we do this in a way where it's not going to re traumatize you? I'm not going to bring you in and just let's talk about the thing and go straight to the thing. We're going to bring in resource and support and go slow so that we can get to the kind of nuance and subtlety. What is different? What does want to change? What does want to happen? So that we're not repeating those loops and just going straight into the mess of the story. But how do we start to kind of reorganize this?
Do you find that, like, when you are starting to dive into that, well, not, I guess not dive, gently step into that,
Mm.
uh, do you find that there's always a reflection of that trauma or whatever it may be, or that emotion showing up as physical pain or something in the body,
Mm.
or sometimes can it just be there and we have no clue that it's even there?
Mm. There are a lot of symptoms, I guess, or conditions that people are showing up with. And I don't know if everyone considers or thinks, oh, this could be linked to trauma. And I'm not saying all of our physical conditions are linked to trauma, but there are certain ways that, uh, so for example, if I'm in fight or flight, that's sympathetic, mobilizing, I need to get out of here, certain things in my body start shutting down. Like, this is not the time to make a baby. We need to
Mm.
like either go to the bathroom right now or like not go to the bathroom at all. And like stuff starts happening in our physiology
So you even
to
see
support
like
that. So
fertility issues possibly
fertility
being
issues,
caused
digestive
by,
issues, all
wow.
kinds of things that come up if we've been in fight or flight or freeze. Again, that freeze state, shut down, collapse, conserve. It's like we're nearing death. We need to prepare to die. So again, this isn't the time for some of these other issues and things
Mm.
to be dealt with. Our body is not in the state of health and wellness and vitality and healing and that like reparative state if we're in that fight or flight response. So yeah, there are definitely different ways that trauma, prolonged dysregulation of the nervous system, could be showing up physically.
That makes sense. So when you're kind of going through it, is it like, if you, because I would imagine like the beginning of a session is trying to at least figure out kind of, and correct me if I'm wrong, kind of try to figure out like what the issue is or what like is actually going on there. But then once you kind of know what direction you're going in, do you, like, if it's someone that feels like there was something that happened to them that made them feel really unsafe or something, would the proper way be to start integrating things into their life that make them feel safe, or how would you go about something like that? And I know there's many different answers, by the way.
Yeah, this is the part of the question where people are always like, so what do you do? Like, what does it
I
mean? I don't
know.
get it. And I'm like, I know. Yeah, everything is so custom and individual, but a place where we are starting with everyone is, can I access a little bit of feeling safe in my body? Because trauma feels like too much for like too much too fast, not enough for too long. There's something again that happened to me that made me feel something that was, I couldn't process this. I didn't have enough resource. I didn't have enough support. There was, my system couldn't kind of make sense of this thing. And I wasn't getting enough support from someone else to help my system make sense of this thing. So it feels unsafe. And coming back into a relationship with, can I feel safe? And not just tell myself, like, you're safe, right? Nobody's here. Okay, just
Mm-hmm.
be calm now. Like, but actually knowing in my body, what does safe mean? And if I haven't experienced that, that feels scary and that feels
Yeah.
weird and that feels new and different. So to even connect a little bit with, can I slow down? Can I feel okay? Even for a little bit, what would it be like if I felt safe enough? So the idea of like safe might even be too big. It's like, what if it's safe enough or a little more safe or a little less scary? And how do we start to work with that is a place where I'm starting with everyone. Yeah.
Well, I think that, like, uh, and I've thought this for quite a while in my career and the stuff that I do, just that, like, raising the question of, like, what if I could feel that? Or, like, just kind of slightly opening up your mind to being able, and your energy in your body to being able to move into that kind of area. And I would imagine, I asked a question I asked a second ago, but then I was like, I would assume most people that come to you for something, they're like hey, I have a lot of anxiety, I need help with this, or I have this or that. So there, you're already starting at a point where they at least have the, hey, this is why I'm coming to
Mm-hmm.
you kind of thing. So that makes sense. Something I thought about, and I haven't thought about it for a while. There was, and I text you about it, but there was a lady that came to one of your maybe Yin Yoga, or it was a somatic, it was something. She came to it, and she, I believe, was afraid of water or something like that. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Well, and
Yeah.
she came in for a sound bath, I think it was, with me, and she was like Megan is the most amazing person in the world, and because I think she said like she was to the point where she would like hyperventilate or like just be in a very bad place when she would go to get into the water, and then she said like she did whatever she did with you in that group setting, which isn't even, I mean, it can be intimate, but you know what I mean. It's not one
Yeah.
on one, and just in that group setting, whatever it was that you were able to help her with, she was like, I am now doing water aerobic or aerobics or whatever that's called, and she was like, I never would have dreamed I would have been here. So, and she spoke. The
Mm-hmm.
reason I thought about that is just she spoke of that like feeling safe within her
Mm-hmm.
own body kind of
Yeah.
thing, and just being safe to go into the water and realizing just all the things. So I don't know. I thought that was an amazing, amazing
Mm-hmm.
story.
Yeah.
And kind of bouncing off of that, you also do a lot of stuff with women, and I love that. Like I
Mm-hmm.
love when someone has like a passion of like supporting something or someone, or just a certain group or whatever. How did, I guess, I don't know, there's a lot of questions there. So I guess the first one was, it would be just what made you want to help support women the way that you do, or do the women's circle, or just kind of do that kind of thing.
Yeah. Mm. Yeah. So I work with all folks,
Hmm.
whatever kind of identities you're coming in with. I work with anyone. And for me as a woman, the feeling and experience of being around other women has been such healing medicine, like just simply in being together. And I think that, it's not a surprise to anyone that we live in a patriarchal society.
Hmm.
And there are ways that both men and women and other folks have internalized that belief system. And I am not making out men or anyone else to be wrong or bad or the problem. And women are the answer and we're better. It's not a like hierarchy, it's a circle. And so when I think about even the feminine, like the word yin, talk about yoga, but yin energy versus yang energy. So yin being more receptive, mysterious, kind of dark, yeah, just like being with the feeling, the body. Our society doesn't really value that. We don't have a lot of space for that. We don't have a lot of places where we can go and be like, let's just feel. It's like, I'm going to teach you something. I'm going to tell you something. Here's what we're going to do. And here, it's very directive. And this way of like, what if we just sat together and like felt our feelings and sang songs and did crafts, or I don't know. To me, that is just very healing medicine, and not just for women, for everyone. And for me, being around other women feels helpful.
That, I mean, honestly, that is, while you're saying that, I'm thinking about like my whole journey. For me, I would always seek out a woman, and specifically like a older woman, to help me with my spiritual journey or
Mm,
whatever it was that I was doing a lot of the times. Or like if I was going to get Reiki or something, it would always be a woman that I would want to go to, for the simple fact that they are more of a, um, I don't know, nurturing, and just not like the male energy basically. And again, there's absolutely nothing wrong with male versus female, none of that stuff. There's no, but I can definitely get what you and others say, and, I say the same thing, that the women, are able, they're just, it feels like they're so much more in tune with like earth
Mm,
and just like things in general. I mean, you're growing babies inside of you, and you're, I mean, like
it's
it's
amazing.
absolutely insane. The day that my wife had our first baby, I was like,
Mm,
she was pregnant. It was, there's a baby growing in there. It was really surreal. But then once that baby came, it was just like, wow, like you just grew that inside of you. Like you just did, I don't know. It's just so crazy. And then like my mom
mm.
grew me, and then it's like, and then seeing the hell that she went through as well during the
Yeah.
pregnancy, because she was like really sick and all the time. And it was just like, at that moment, not that I didn't respect women, because I always have, but like my respect was just like so much more. And then just being in the spiritual realm of things, I'm surrounded by women most of the time anyway, because there's a lot of old fashioned ways with some men, the way that they grew up, of like, you just suppressing things and just egos real big and stuff. And that's the unfortunate part. But I think a lot of people are starting, at least from my perspective, we're starting to kind of move into a more feminine energy. Honestly, I think that our whole planet is, I mean, I guess you could look at things going on right now and say, well, but like I
Mm.
do think we're moving it more into like a feminine energy. And I hope we do, honestly, because I think that with that nurturing energy, that love energy, and just that, um I don't know, just that, it's like a grounding kind of energy. I think that we could accomplish a lot more.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. As you were talking, reminded me, I'm moving through training to become a doula.
Are you
Yeah.
really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's so
And
awesome.
the experience of being pregnant, of giving birth, of losing a child, like all of that that comes with being in a body that has a womb that governs life and death is, I mean, so powerful, so much there. And we as a society kind of pathologize, like pregnancy is a pathology. And if there's something that's not going well, it's like, here's a pill or here's how you do
Mm,
it. And we are really taking away so much of the intuitiveness, the sovereignty, the wisdom that women have inherently in their body. Women have been giving birth forever. And there's so much that we know about this process that we've been disconnected from because we've been told by someone else, here's how you do it, here's the way. And I think there's so much about being in a woman's body. I mean, our bodies aren't really studied and researched in medical models. And there's just, yeah, so many things that I could say about this, but there's so much wisdom and power that we have that for me, I would love for us to reclaim and say, I don't need the system to be that way because I have something else and I know what I need. And I'll come there when I need what you're offering. And I can look somewhere else for support with what I already know inside of me.
mm. Well, that's beautiful.
Hmm.
It's I I know a lot of people. One of my friends, she just had a baby, like natural, in a pool at her home, and just
Hmm.
like that kind of stuff, which is amazing. And I don't know how any woman, and I mean, I like you said, it's like you all have been doing this forever. Honestly, I mean, forever, as long as humans have existed. And so women's bodies know how to give birth, and we don't necessarily need all the jazz that they feed us through pregnancy and while we're giving birth. Granted, I do think obviously some of the medical advancements and the thing that they have to offer have saved women and babies' lives, but like for the most part, it's like we women's bodies know what to do. And but she had a baby, and she said that she was doing, I think, like hypnobirth or something along those lines, and she was like, I don't really feel much. Like, I feel like so. She said the whole process is like obviously meditative, but she said it's just like, I was trying to think of the word she used, but something along the lines of just like a. She's so in tune and so like in a space that she never has ever felt except for birth, and it's like I'm never going to get to experience that, but
Yeah.
like I saw my wife experience it, although she did the epidural and all that stuff, which I would love to ask your opinion on that if you have any opinions in a
Mm.
second. But just like and then also like inducing people and stuff. I would love to hear your thoughts on that as well. So keep those two in mind
Mm.
for a second. But so they induced her with our second or our first child, and everything was fine the whole pregnancy. They induced her, and then all of a sudden his heart rate starts dropping, and
Mm.
then it's like they're like, oh, well, lay on your side, and then it's fine there, and then it's like, and it was just like I was kind of thinking maybe we should have just let her have him, and when her body was ready to have him instead of forcing it. The second one, she went in to get checked, and they accidentally bursted her water right then and there, and she just went over and after a few hours had him. But what was, oh yeah, so with the first one though, they induced her and they were like, let us know when your contractions start to get too much and we'll do the epidural. And she was like, okay. And she's like, I'm going to try to ride this out. And like, I mean, it was like 10 minutes in and she's like, I don't know if it's supposed to be like this, but I am in so much like pain when these contractions hit. And the thing is, we didn't learn any like other way to do it because we were going the traditional way. So like, I'm sure if, let's say the doctors didn't exist and we had like, back in the day kind of stuff, I'm sure there would have been plenty of methods to deal with that and to feel better. But we didn't know that. We were just told, hey, you'll get an epidural when you're ready and it's too much and then you won't feel anything. Luckily, epidural didn't mess anything up for her or the baby both times. But um, I just feel like the process was amazing, obviously, but I feel like for the woman, if she's doing it naturally and everything's happening the way that it's supposed to, it's like a surreal moment, and it's a surreal moment regardless. But like, kind of like my friend said, it's just you can't describe it basically. But what are your thoughts on all of that?
Mm. Yeah, there's so much there. I'm not against any certain way of giving birth. Like, if you need to have a C-section, if you need to be induced, if you want to have this, if you want to have that, none of it is right or wrong. There's not any shame for how someone gives birth. And there are ways that are more optimal for certain experiences. So, breastfeeding is optimal, and that doesn't happen for everyone. That doesn't feel right for everyone. That isn't a choice for everyone. There are certain ways that getting an epidural, getting a C-section, getting suction, or different things during birth, how that impacts breastfeeding. There are certain ways that even before uh, your nourishment, your movement, the ways you're taking care of yourself, if you get an epidural, then you're probably not moving during birth. And so, like, we need to be moving the pelvis and kind of flowing with what's happening. So, there are different ways that things are more optimal for certain experiences, and things are okay for what you need.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. She once she got the epidural, she's like, I don't know. It was just crazy because she couldn't really do much with her lower body at
Yeah.
all, and they're like push, and she's I don't know if I'm pushing or not. Like
Yeah.
I'm like I don't know. It was a crazy experience. Um, that something that you just talked about breastfeeding. That's a whole other thing. My wife breastfed as well, and I mean with the first one, it was like he was attached to her like every 30 minutes or so, and like I mean, it was just like she loved it and said, I love the experience, but also she didn't love the raw nipples and the um, having to have him attached constantly, even at nighttime, and just all that stuff. And like it got to a point where he would like, she would just lean over and just like in bed. And so uh, that's another big thing is just the sacrifice that women are making for that. And that was and also just for her or any woman. And again, there's absolutely no judgment. And that's what because I have had friends that's like I tried and I could and I'm like, don't blame me one bit at all because it is so hard. But to see the drive and determination in my wife was like inspiring because I was like, you are going through hell right now, but you are also just hanging in there and you're just doing your
Mm-hmm.
thing. And obviously with the idea that our baby's going to be healthier because of that. And then I don't know any of the science behind any of it, but I know like when the baby is attached, there's so much more than just milk going into their
Mm-hmm.
stomach that's
Mm-hmm.
happening there. And like there was a picture on Facebook one time that I saw, and it was like pretty colorful picture, but actually I think it was a moving picture. But it was a baby on the breast, and it was like this energy just moving from the breast into the baby and just
Mm-hmm.
filling the baby. And I don't know. Do you know anything about that
Yeah, I mean, what's
process?
coming up for me is like oxytocin. So that
Mm.
hormone and chemical of bonding that helps us feel secure and safe.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. I mean, um, there's a few different things coming up. One is we as a species have babies that are really dependent for like 2 years, right? Can't talk, can't walk, can't feed themselves, don't know what the heck's going on out here. Other animal species, their babies come out and they start moving around and doing all the things. Like, so that first 2 years is really a time of like that baby doesn't know it's separate from the mother. It's still trying to learn what is going on. And that time for attaching, for bonding, for feeling safe and secure is really important. And as a society, as a culture, we don't give moms 2 years off. You had a baby, so now like take care of this thing and really like wire in from the beginning that sense of safety. Like we're not supporting that. So when mothers get frustrated of like this hurts, I also have to go back to my job and I have to do this thing and I have to take care of my other kid and I have to, it makes sense. And it's like we're not offering a lot of education also on what are things that you can do, what are things that are impacting this, and we're not offering the like collective support to make health and wellness possible.
Well, you know what's really crazy that with what's coming up for me is with that is well, a couple of things, but the first thing I want to say is that when my wife, when we were in the hospital, they had the breast, I forget the consultant for breastfeeding,
Yeah,
whatever they're called.
lactation consultant. Yeah.
Yes. So they had them come in and like, yeah, they helped a little bit, but like there was no freaking information. And they're
Mm-hmm.
like, yeah, put it in the mouth. And she's
Mm-hmm.
like, but it's, he's not latching. And they're like, oh, we have these latch extension things or
Mm-hmm.
something. And we're like, ultimately we got rid of those, but, and that didn't even work. Eventually he started being able to latch, but it was just like, it was like, you should do this. Oh, it's not working. We'll see you later. And they kind of
Yeah.
left.
Yeah.
Could have been that lactation consultant, could have been the way that it is, but like, and then even in the follow-up appointments, she would talk to the pediatrician and they're just like, yeah, you can, and it was just no help basically. So she started doing tons of research herself, and then she became the person that everyone's
Mm-hmm.
coming to about breastfeeding. And it was like, she was very happy though that she was able to save those other mothers the problem or the issues that she was dealing with. And I've talked to, it was at least one, because they're one of our friends, and they expressed like, if it wasn't for Brittany telling me what she told me about whatever it was, like I would have stopped breastfeeding. I'm so and I was just like, that's insane. It takes just I mean, no one's just average, but just an average
Mm-hmm.
person to like, so there was that. And then the other thing I was thinking is, do you see, in your experience, do you know or have you seen, is there a difference somatically, or however you would phrase that, with like a baby that's breastfed versus a baby that's bottle fed, or because of the like safety and security that they feel when they're like on the breast and stuff like that, um, or and have you saw any issues with anyone or anything that people are going through that stems all the way back from like being a baby that little?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if we have a lot of like direct research that it might be out there and I just don't know it yet of the impact of breastfeeding or not versus your like emotional and physical well-being. I mean, I'm sure there's certain like studies along that line, but from like a
Mm-hmm.
somatic trauma perspective, I haven't come across that specifically. But what is coming up is in our training for somatic experiencing, we do talk about pre and perinatal trauma. So as a baby, while you're in the womb, what's going on with your mother? Because you are developing your nervous system from her nervous system.
That is
So if
true.
she is always overwhelmed, stressed, burnt out, feeling fight or flight, feeling in freeze, that's going to impact the way that your nervous system is developing, and how you are born. really does impact the ability to breastfeed, but it also is impacting, you know, I'm thinking of one of these videos we watched in our training. Babies also probably want to fight. If they're getting pulled and yanked and taken away from mom, and you're touching me here and you're doing that to me, it's like, stop. Like,
Yeah.
I'm used to being like this, and now you're doing all these things to me. So like babies can have these experiences of I know what feels safe and I know what doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
And there are ways that growing up, becoming an adult, we can feel off and not really know why. Just like, oh, I just like don't really feel good. I don't really feel like myself. I don't really feel like generally safe enough or connected enough or feeling okay. And it could be related to what was going on for pregnancy and birth.
That's crazy, because that's a long way to go back and like track it. I do biofield tuning, and that's the only place typically that I am really seeing it show up, because I'm going through like from birth all the way to present. But I'll see things like trauma like that in birth, and and it is funny because when my I don't know about my first or one of my kids, or maybe both, who knows, but I they came out, and yeah, they put him on the mom for a second. Actually, the first one, they rushed him over to a table because um, they wasn't telling us something. They thought something was wrong, I think, because of the oxygen or something. He also had his umbilical cord wrapped around his neck, and like when he first came out, he was black and blue and not really waking up, but maybe like 5 seconds, which felt like 30 seconds. But like eventually he started crying. He actually didn't cry. He woke up and wasn't crying, but they had the NICU people in there, all that stuff, and we thought that was normal protocol. But then we had our second, and we were like, they did nothing that they did with the first one. And but when they laid them out on the table, like they're under this bright light, like a heating light, or I don't know, whatever the heck they have, but this bright light, and they're checking them out and everything, and they're like lifting their leg, and I'm like, I can't imagine how unsettling that would feel for a baby. And then like circumcision, that's something that like I never thought of until I had a child. But then it's like, what does that? Because that, I mean, they're like, oh, we numb it and it's fine, but that baby's in pain, and you can tell the baby's in pain, and it's like, why? Or I'm not even gonna go into the why. We'll just say that for another time. But how much is that freaking affecting your body from that like immense pain from the like, I don't know, 40 minutes after you're born? Like, I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on that before
I mean, it definitely, makes me very curious about the state of our men. Because what are we doing when they're born and it's painful? There are a lot of ways that like you can work with a baby on the mom. Like if you need to resuscitate or need to do things, like not separating can be an option in certain cases. So not all medical professionals will be like trained in that or feel comfortable in that. But that separation, taking away as soon as the baby is born, I think really does have an impact. But lots about birth and how it's impacting our nervous systems and how we're showing up in the world, for sure.
Well, and like when I was born, I was a preemie, and my mom was in a bad wreck, like somewhere along the line, and I stopped growing for some reason. That's what she says. I don't know what actually happened, but I was like 4 pounds even or something like that when I came out. But she said like they took me out, they put me in what looked like a bag almost, and they took me away. She didn't even get to see me, touch me, anything. And then she said they came in with a picture of me and said, here's a picture of your baby. We're just making sure he's okay. He's going to be. And I was like away from my mom for, I mean, somewhere like a week or two, something crazy. It was just like a crazy amount of time. And it's like, thankfully I turned out good enough, but like, I'm sure I have something there, but it's like, that's just, I don't know, it's not healthy. So anyway, I think there's a lot that could be done there to make things much better. Because like just even what we're talking about, like there's so many different horror stories that we're talking about right now. Not so much horror stories, but just like things that can really affect us Whereas if we just did it naturally, yes, there's things that could happen, but like most likely it's not going to be that. How's your doula stuff going? How much longer do you have on it?
So I have some online stuff to do, and then I need to attend 3 births. So
Oh,
looking
wow.
for some people who might be open to that.
Are you
So
really? Wow.
bringing that somatic trauma lens to like really the whole pregnancy, and like something I'm really interested in too is like even preconception. How can we support your nervous system as a woman, as a person who wants to give birth, to really be in the place of, I'm going to feel discomfort. I'm going to feel pain. I'm going to feel transition. I'm going to feel grief. I'm going to feel power. I'm going to feel scared. Like, I'm going to experience a lot of change, a lot of things going through my body. And can I have the skill to be present with that? Can I be in my body through this whole process, through like making my choices, saying no to people? No, I don't want that. Sure, that might be normal, but that's not normal. Like
Yeah.
things that we're saying are common. This happens to people. Oh, this is just the way that it is. But my body says no. My body says something else. So really, that's like where I'm really interested in is how do we help support some of these skills that you'll experience and use throughout pregnancy and birth and mothering.
Yeah. That's a
Yeah.
whole other
Yeah.
aspect of it. Yeah. Well, and honestly, I think you're going to be really good at that just
Mm.
because of you in general, but like with your background in the somatic work and everything, and even, I mean, yoga, I mean, that
Mm.
might come into play as
Yeah.
well. Like,
Yep.
there's just so much that you have to offer in, or, in tandem with the doula just being
Mm.
there and being knowledgeable about the process and all of that. And that would be awesome. Do you know Wantina by any chance?
Mm-mm.
Okay. She's just a big doula in the area. She's like so many births a year, like
Mm.
something outrageous, like 380 births a year,
Wow.
just something crazy. And but she used to work here. I was just curious if
Mm.
you knew her. And then Cheryl Dixon, she's another one that I know that's a doula. But either way, I think that that's going to be really cool. And if anybody's out there that wants, will it be like just you, or will it be you and like a mentor, or are you just there to just observe, or?
Yeah. I think there's different levels of ways we could engage.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. I hope you do find that. I mean, you will, but you have to, I guess, right? So um, that'll be really cool for you. Well,
Thank you.
that's cool. Something else I wanted to ask you about that you did, and I want to make sure I'm pronouncing it correctly. Enneagram, is that correct?
Yeah.
So I was reading that on your website, or actually, no, we spoke about it. But and I was just curious if you can kind of give me the rundown on what that is, what it helps, what it is for, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. So Enneagram, it's like a circle, and then there's a triangle in it, and then a hexad, and it's really connecting like 9 different points. Enneagram translates to drawing of 9, so there's 9 points. And originally, it was like uh, more of a tool for movement and experience and parts of self. And in the like, I think it's the 1970s is when we really started applying like typology or personality. So it's looking at 9 different types of people. And what it's really doing is classifying us by our core fear. So we all, as humans, are afraid of death. Our nervous systems are wired to survive. And there are ways that we kind of have offshoot fears. If I'm weak, I might die. If I do something wrong or bad, I might die. If I'm not lovable, I might die. If I'm not safe and taken care of, I might die. So there's like 9 different ways we're saying, ooh, these things are like really scary. And that drives our behavior. I don't want to experience that thing because that feels like death. So now I want the opposite. I want to try to be strong. I want to try to be peaceful. I want to try to be good. Uh, nine different things that we're trying to do. And what the Enneagram is showing us is in that we are creating separation. We are creating this internal conflict, which is suffering. We're creating our own pain by saying, I don't want to be this and I do want to be this. And the Enneagrams, but what if you're both? And what if they're okay? And what if one isn't right or wrong? And how are we, yeah, causing ourselves suffering by ignoring or avoiding a part of our reality? And so bringing it all back in the circle, all of it's included.
So that's, I mean, awesome as well. Like
Mm-hmm.
I've never really dove into that. So what is it? Um, I guess like, is that a part of something that you use with your somatic work? How do you figure out who's what?
Mm-hmm.
And if you can give us the basic version of that.
Yeah. Yeah, so the way that I work with folks is some people already know it, which is cool, and we can come in and talk about it and use it, and some people don't know it, and that's fine too. Like, you don't have to know your Enneagram type to work with me. If you're curious about it and you want to learn it, I recommend learning it through like study. So
Mm,
there are tests that you can take online, but tests are only like 50% accurate. So really understanding the tool and the framework and what does this mean, and then you get to self-identify. So I have an online self-paced workshop that I send folks through, and you can move through it your own pace and then really be like, oh, okay, I see now. Yep, I'm a 3 or I'm a 1 or whatever. And getting to have that moment, that experience, that agency for yourself to really see yourself. And it might be ouchy and uncomfortable, and you might laugh because you're like, huh, this is like funny. How does somebody know me? But also like, ow. um, and so yeah, we can work with that because it's gonna show up in our nervous system. So for example, my type 1 really doesn't want to be wrong or bad, and wants to be good and do the right thing. And if I feel like something is wrong, that's going to show up in my body. And that's going to
mm,
be a thing that I'm going to need to pay attention to and work with. Because if I don't, it's going to just like subconsciously run me. And I'm not really going to be fully present. I'm not really going to be able to make thoughtful choices. I'm going to be letting my programming try to guide me towards what it thinks is good and right.
that's awesome. And I think that's something that a lot of people don't really pay much attention to, is just like that program that's running in the background
Yes,
that
yes.
is, I mean, we think that us on the surface is in
Hmm.
control, but like we are not at all. There's so much going on. And I think once you, at least for me, once I started trying to pay attention to the cycles or the patterns or the just the background stuff that's happening, and meditation has really helped me with that, being able to get calm and present and just quieting my mind, so that way when I'm going throughout my day-to-day life, my mind is pretty quiet enough so I can understand what's happening. But I do also, I don't know what it would be called, but like a self-evaluation often, like not where I'm writing things down and calculating, nothing like that, but kind of like, if I feel like I didn't handle a situation that well, I will reflect on it and make sure that the next time I show up better, and it's not, or I show up in a different way that makes me not
Mm.
feel like it was not good. But, um, and I'm just always trying to, I guess, check in and make sure that I'm not doing anything that's not good for my body, for my energy, and so on. So I think that it is really good to know kind of what's going on behind the scenes, and then taking those steps forward to, I don't know, what would you do there? Just try
Yeah.
to integrate it in, kind of like you said,
Yep.
and yeah.
Yeah, yeah. We're really bringing in the things. The Enneagram shows us a lot of what we avoid in how we think and in how we behave and in how we feel. It's really kind of showing us what is your relationship like with anger? What's your relationship like with grief? What's your relationship like with fear? And how do we maybe distort our relationship with that emotion because it tries to keep us alive and in
Mm,
survival mode, and it's really intelligent and protective. Our ego forms its sense of self around I'm not like that. And uh, there's so many things coming up. One is I want to talk about anger for sure. And another one is this like, yeah, we can't really be present in in choice. Like, I get to choose what I'm doing. If I don't understand all the things that are like keeping me out of choice,
uh,
all those things that I think, oh, I think I'm choosing. Oh yeah, of course I would do that. But if I'm not starting to question some of those things, it's like, oh, yeah, maybe I didn't actually choose that. And maybe it didn't actually feel aligned. And maybe it didn't feel like what is really deeply true to me.
We have a really good way of lying to ourselves, or like just saying, this is the right thing I need to do. Like there's
Mm-hmm.
listening to the little voice is very important, and it's taken years, and I'm still working at it,
Yeah,
but I
same.
mean, like, it's
Same.
taken years to get good enough to where I can like somewhat work with it. But I mean, there's like, even with my work that I do now, because I do a lot of like energy healing work, just a lot of different things. And there's areas of that where I'm like, I know I don't want to do this
Mm.
anymore.
Mm.
But then like the ego me is like, no, this is exactly what I wanted. This is, and ultimately though, as long as you're trying to better yourself, and you're or trying to just progress, in I guess integrate the pieces that you need to, eventually that part is going to, that small truth that you were hearing that you brushed away is going to become a big
Mm.
truth, and you're
Mm.
going to get rid of that aspect of the work that you're doing or whatever it is in your life. And I just think it's kind of inevitable. But I also think that some people do get really stuck in the right where they're at, and they aren't necessarily making the steps or taking the steps forward to kind of integrate the things they need to. And that's usually because they're doing the best that they
Yeah.
can, that with what they have. And that's another thing, is like looking at everyone in life like they're always just doing the best that they can. And even if they're like doing some crappy stuff, it's like we got to look at where they grew up, with their environment, and just like what's going on within their programming on like why they are the way that they are. um,
Yeah. A lot of what we do is really intelligent out of survival. Like a lot of what we're doing isn't self sabotage and like trying to be mean or whatever. It's like, no, this is how my body says I survive. I've learned that this is a pattern that is okay enough for me to stay alive. And uh, it might not be the most healthy thing, but it's a way that it's okay enough. And so giving ourselves a lot of grace, like, oh, wow, that pattern that I keep doing and I see it happening and I want to stop it, but I don't know how to stop it. It's like, yeah, it's so intelligent and protective and sweet. And if we want it to change, we can't just like force it to change, like, stop doing that. It's like, I need to get in here a little bit and see why and where does this come from and what does it need? What does it want? Oh, you're so sweet. You're trying to protect me. Thank you. And right, maybe I can choose something else. And that takes a lot of work. That takes a lot of resource. It takes a lot of privilege to be able to spend time on that. Like grieving is hard work. Being angry is hard work. Feeling your feelings, moving through wounds, seeing practitioners, it costs money and time that everyone does not have. And
Mhm.
so it makes sense that we're doing our best.
Well, it's something that I've kind of learned is, or realized, I guess, is that when I'm, even if I say I want to let go of something, there's like a piece of me that wants to hold on to that
Mm-hmm.
something as well. And it's like, then I dive a little deeper into like, what is that piece that is holding on to this? And usually it goes down to like maybe the root of the problem, but that kind of goes to where you're saying like there's that part that's like stuck in time, that's trying to still react to whatever it is that it needed to react to. And that's probably why I'm holding on to it. But once
Yeah.
we start to integrate that, then it starts to get better, and then you don't feel that um, chain, or however, like that
Yeah. Yeah.
link to it, and you can then move on and get rid of that pattern or that whatever bad thing it is, or unwanted thing, whatever you want to call it. But
Yeah. Yeah. I need to
yeah.
know that I can survive. I need to
Mhm.
know that if I don't do this thing that's gripping, this thing that wants to happen, this thing that keeps happening, if I don't do that, will I survive? Will I stay alive? Will I be okay? So, building up, this kind of goes back to the beginning of like, do I have more access to safety, to resource, to support, to other ways of being? that I know I'm going to be okay if I don't do this thing.
Mm-hmm. Well, and something that we were talking about before, and you kind of just brought up, is anger. So,
Mm.
um, I used to be such an angry guy. I was such an angry little guy, like to the point where if I was driving my car down the road and someone was like looking at me all weird, I would pull over and ask them what they're looking at. It like
Mm.
so bad. Talking about maybe like 18 to 20 years old there, but then I realized I can't be doing that. But I grew up in a town where everybody was angry and we would just fight each other, and it was just like a bad environment. Luckily, I was able to let go of that and integrate whatever I needed to integrate. Not even sure what it was, but just I did whatever I needed to do to pull myself out of that mind state. But still, there is, um, I mean, I guess everybody has anger, but for me, what I've, and then I want to hear everything you have to say about it
Mm.
as well. What I've realized with my anger in particular, is, or any emotion really, is that it literally just like wants to be felt.
Mm.
And if I allow myself to feel the anger, and I usually will like breathe and like visualize that anger, like wherever I'm feeling it. First, I ask myself, where am I feeling it in my
Mm.
body? Then and I tell everyone this isn't going to resonate for everybody, but then I ask myself, where am I thinking about it when I'm thinking about it? Because my thoughts are in different area of my brain or zone or whatever. So I ask, where am I thinking about this? And then I will kind of take a breath and I see where I'm thinking about it going in, moving into where I'm feeling it. And I see that it and I feel it as much as I can. And I allow it to just like pass through, almost like it's a visitor and it's ready to go. And then it's gone. But that's anger from like something that happened that made me angry or something. And then I guess there's anger that's like deep rooted from like something that happened. And then you have that anger that's there and you're always ready to blow up. Your cup's always full and so on. But what are your thoughts on anger?
Mm, yeah. So, one is that I love working with anger in women because we are taught to suppress and you're not allowed to be angry because then you're a bitch and
Mm-hmm.
whatever else. So, you need to be quiet and you need to be kind and you need to take care of other people and you're not allowed to be mad about things. And working with anger is something that really helps us come out of like the freeze state. So, if I'm in like collapse, hopeless, depressed, can't do anything, I suck, the world sucks, shame, like those kind of feelings, anger, aggression, healthy aggression, um, is what can kind of help us move out of that place and then show up in the world and be like, actually, no, that's not okay. This needs to change. This is how we're going to do this. And I have a voice and I have an opinion and I am worthy and valuable. So I think it's really important for women to connect with anger, and I love doing that work. I offer a 6-week series a few times a year through in person, and I have an online course specifically for working with anger. So that's one thing that I like to say about anger. Another thing is anger is an emotion, like all emotions that are temporary, right? It comes up, you feel it, and it moves through, and it offers information. There's something here that's activating. There's something here that's this wisdom, this knowing, like, again, this is not okay. This thing is being challenged. You crossed a boundary. Um, you aren't respecting me, whatever it is. So, anger is a valid response to those experiences. So, we feel the emotion, we get the wisdom, and then we decide what we want to do when we have presence and choice. And we think about anger also in relationship to the fight response. So, for our nervous system, if we're saying, okay, I feel okay, things are all right, enough, oh, then there's danger, threat, stimulation. I don't know. Am I going to be okay? Oh, I might need to like fight this thing, fight, fight, fight. So now, if I'm in fight mode, if my body has said, you're in a survival state, something's not okay, we need to protect ourselves, go into fight mode. Like that needs to complete that. Again, if it doesn't, then it's just hanging out in my system, waiting, waiting, waiting. So we want to complete the fight response, which doesn't mean, okay, go punch whoever, right? But
Hmm.
it means, what does my body want to do with this energy? Can I notice, where do I feel it? How does it want to complete? Does it want to bite? Does it want to punch? Does it want to kick? Does it want to push? Does it want to twist or scratch? And can I do that in a different place, right? In a place that's removed from other humans, probably.
What about like vocally? Do you
Yeah,
incorporate?
using your
Yeah.
voice, saying no, saying stop. And there's no right way of completing the fight response. It's your body knows what it wants to do to keep you alive. So can we like let that do its thing, and then you, oh, I'm alive. I did the thing and I'm alive. It moved through, it completed, I'm safe, I'm breathing, my feet are on the floor. Okay, no one hurt me. Or maybe fight response is a very valid response to something coming at you and you do need to fight. Um, so there's so much there. I think we can like stigmatize fight, especially in spiritual settings of like, well, we don't want to be violent and spiritual and love and kindness. Yes, 100%. And also, we're animals that have a response, and not letting our bodies do that thing is sort of like traumatizing ourselves by saying, no, don't be like that. No, don't do that. No, don't do that. Like, yes, 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 and both. We can be so loving and have anger. Martin Luther King Jr. was said to be like one of the most angry people of his time. And he's leading a revolution with love. He's all about nonviolence. Like both things can exist.
I agree, and I think the one of my big takeaways is just that also like anger, or the like the ending of it, like needing to get it out. Like it's not a bad thing. It's a thing that is needed, and it's a thing that's very valuable to us if we actually need it. But unfortunately, our bodies think that we need it in times that we don't need it. And um, I started doing jujitsu, and it has been like the best thing that I have done, just physically, but like as far as getting rid of any kind of pent up anything that's in there, that's my way of getting rid of whatever I need to get rid of. But I think that I think that makes a valid, or you make a valid point, and I can't say that I necessarily have ever talked to anybody that looks at the things the way that you do, which I like the way that you think of it. And it really is kind of like put a different perspective on everything for me a little bit, because uh, instead of like flight or fight mode, we got to get you out of it, and let's do things to make you feel safe and so on. Well, let's also let's figure out how you need to like complete that cycle of it. And I never really thought of it as like a cycle like that. So I think that's really cool. And I think there's a lot of anger out there, especially right now. And honestly, I think that uh, the elites of the world, or the whatever, are striving off of our anger and our division and all of that. And I think that right now is I can't think of a better time when people could learn how to deal with their anger and try to I don't know, try to also, I guess, just feel safe in a world like that we're in right now, because there's a lot of unsafe feelings out there. And I don't know, I think there's a lot of people can really benefit from looking at that aspect of things. So,
Yeah. I think that uh, working with anger with skill, like sustainably through your body, to say, I'm safe enough to feel this anger and harness it, use it, like transform it. This is energy. This is energy that can help fuel change and transformation. This is not something that needs to be shoved down and ignored. This is something we can give attention to and be with, and then learn how to use it with skill. Like, we do need to be saying no. We do need to be saying this is not okay. We do need to be making phone calls, showing up, making changes, going to, like, I mean, so many ways that we want to be present and engaged in life. And if I am shoving down anger, that takes a lot of energy. It takes a lot of energy if you want to shove down all this stuff. So then the freeze is going to come on real hard. And then we're just going to feel like I can't do anything. I'm overwhelmed. I'm shut down. And that's fine and normal and human, and I do it. We all do it. It's not bad or wrong to be in that freeze state. And I think this moment is really asking us to be like, let's wake up, let's be alive. And I
Mhm.
think anger, working with anger well, helps us do that.
Yeah, I agree. I think that the more that we look into, I guess, integrating our stuff that we have packed on, and actually something else that I wanted to say is like with anger, the way I look at it as well is like, I feel like if we stuff anger down and then like, I feel like if we stuff it down, we can get rid of the initial feeling for a second, but then it eventually comes right back up. And
Yeah.
ultimately what happens is like we keep stacking anger, and then before we know it, we're either an incredibly angry person or we're blowing up on
Yeah.
someone, and then we're
Exploding.
projecting all that anger onto them.
Yep.
They take on the anger, and then we're playing past the anger around
Yep.
basically.
Yep.
So yeah, something I wanted to touch on this is yin yoga. When do you feel like, because I'm thinking of all this now, and we've kind of talked about the somatics, we talked about kind of the anger part of it and just like completing that cycle and all of that. So when it comes to yoga, yin yoga, any yoga that you teach, do you feel like going into certain poses or doing certain routines or things like that can help with, let's just say, anger or anything like that, or something that we have being held in our body? Or I guess if not, what do you feel like yin yoga or yoga in general helps with a lot with people?
Mm. Yeah. So I'll kind of start with saying if you haven't done yin yoga before, what it's working on is our fascia. So, like the connective tissue that's really kind of thick around our joints, knees, lower back, shoulders, hips. And it's holding us together. It's holding our bones to bone. It's holding our muscles to our bones. So, those tendons, the ligaments, that like white, you know, kind of stuff that's going around everything. And in yin yoga, we're trying to kind of open, loosen, lengthen that. It can kind of get stuck together. It can get stuck in certain postures. Again, we think about like bracing. I'm constantly like, I have to be small or I have to be ready to fight, or right. Whatever posture we might be repeating can show up in how we're holding our body. And so yin yoga is saying, can we soften? Can we let go? Can we come apart a little bit? Maybe it's okay to have a little more space. And that's really vulnerable. It's really like tender and it can be scary. And like, no, I need to hold myself together. I don't want to come apart. So that's okay.
Hmm.
Um, I'm kind of weaving in some of that somatic principle of how can we maybe use yin yoga to help us even know what's going on in our body? Where do you feel this? A lot of yoga says, do this shape, do this shape. Now do this shape. And it's like, well, why? Why am I doing these shapes?
Right.
What does that mean? And I'm really saying, can you feel something in this part of your body? I don't care what you look like. You might put your leg over here, your arm over there, or bend this thing that way, or maybe you don't move at all and you still feel something there. And how do we support you to know your body? Because you know how to do this. I don't know how to do this. I'm not in your body. I can offer suggestions or like ideas. Maybe you could do that or this, but you know what's happening in your body. And for me, that's the like point of my yoga class is for each person to know what's going on in their body. And I also know that if we've experienced trauma, being in our bodies is hard. Knowing what I feel and where I feel it is really hard because everything feels bad. Everything feels overwhelming. Everything feels scary. Everything feels numb. I don't want to feel anything. And so my class is an invitation to maybe you feel numb. Okay, that's fine too. That's an experience. That's a sensation. Can we be with that? Like noticing anything wherever you are and going at your own pace.
That kind of reminds me of what, like, people are stretching before we go into jujitsu, like before
Mm,
we're actually
mm,
wrestling and doing our stuff. And I tell people I'm not necessarily stretching to loosen up my body. I'm stretching to feel what hurts today, basically,
mm.
because as I stretch, I can tell this muscle's tight today, so I need to be maybe stretch it a little bit more, but also be careful of, I don't know, doing things with that. But um,
Yeah, super intelligent. Our range of motion, like what do I have access to in this joint? And some days it might be more or less than others. So,
yeah, that's true as well. Yeah. kind of a random thought that I just thought about. I know a few people that have had like some trauma, sexual trauma from like younger years, and they're overweight now. Do you know of anything? Because I've always heard that like sometimes when people are like molested or something along those lines, they will pack on weight to try to make themselves feel secure or something like that. Have you ever heard of anything like that?
I don't know that I have anything like that specific or prescriptive. I think in general, eating food, consuming food, thinking about our body image can be related to probably any kind of trauma.
I guess that's
a protective
true. Yeah,
mechanism. Yeah, and
that's true.
it's not bad or wrong either way. And it's like, yeah, when what happens inside of us when we feel safe? What happens inside of us when we feel like we have choice? What happens inside of us when we feel like we have agency? I might still want to eat this thing. I might still want to look this way. There's nothing bad or wrong. It's what is my body like, and am I doing that from a place of choice?
Yeah. Well, and I feel like the same people, and one of them was really close to me, is like when they have worked on a part of that trauma, or they feel like you can tell that they feel like they have turned a corner of some sort with it. They start losing weight, even though they're still eating similar. And it's like, is it because their body is intentionally holding on to it? Or, I mean, because obviously our bodies are much more intelligent than we realize. I mean, it's not just our meat suit this is like, I mean, it's honestly insane if you like start really thinking about it, of what all our body is doing. But there's so much communication going through our body, and I don't know, that's just my thought.
And like our nervous system state is going to govern and impact our metabolism. Like if I'm in a dysregulated state, am I having a lot of cortisol? Am I having like all these different things that are going to impact how my metabolism is working in different parts of my body, my thyroid, this or that or the other. So if I feel a little bit more safe and present and connected, and I'm in that state of like things are healthy and can be repaired, maybe other things aren't changing as much as just like how my body's interpreting and moving things.
That's a great point. Yeah, I didn't really ever think of it that way, of it translating into that. So anyway, just a random thought. Another thing or two that I wanted to touch on before we kind of wrap it up is I saw on your website that you do somatic experiencing or whatever. I don't know if you phrase it the same for children, basically. And I just wanted to ask kind of what do you do there? I mean, because I've worked with children with my energy healing. It's some of the most amazing stuff because they are just so receptive to everything. And but anyway, what's that like, basically?
So I work with kids 5 and up, and I'm doing a lot of the same things that I would do with adults, but just in a way that's a little bit more playful, maybe a little more art, a little more focus on like feelings and less on words. I think adults really like our words. And with kids, we can really kind of get into like the experience. You don't need as many words. They might be more expressive through movement. So working with kids who might feel a little bit anxious or a little bit worried, or starting to kind of think about my body and what's going on here and what do I look like. School feels stressful or overwhelming. My parents got divorced. I mean, all kinds of different things that kids are navigating, we can work with through the body.
I know some kids can sit still or sit around all day, and then others, they like can't sit still literally for longer than like 5 to 10 seconds. And then there's some that can concentrate on whatever you need them to, and then there's others that cannot concentrate on anything. And I think a part of that is their children, and children do children things. So 100% with that. And I'm a big advocate for that because I have 2 boys, and having 2 boys is like insane. Like they're just bouncing off the walls all day long, but I wouldn't change it for the world. But it is like, but like, and they have friends that like they're always moving around. They can't sit still. They'll like play one video game for 2 seconds and hop on to the next one. And it's like, there's just a lot going on there. And I've often wondered, like, is this because they have some kind of trauma that they're trying to not sit with?
Mm.
Or is it because they have so much energy running through their body for some reason? Or if it's just normal and they're going to get out of it eventually? Or did they get it from their parents or whatever? Do you have any thoughts
Yeah.
on that at all?
Yeah. I mean, I do think that like asking a kid to sit in school for 8 hours and be still
Mm-hmm.
is like a big ask. I think that's a lot that we're putting on kids.
Reason number one, we homeschooled our children
Yeah.
because there's no way.
Yeah. Yeah. So, um, let's see. So I think that, hmm, so many things. Okay. Kids are really intuitive, and I think that they know what they need. And I think that when we're really young, we're still looking for co-regulation. We're still looking for um, support from someone else. Like there's everything is new. I don't, what is this thing? What's that thing? How does this work? What's that? Like everything feels new, and that can just feel like a lot to our bodies. So kids are really looking for someone else to help their nervous system. Like the adult, the parent, the caretaker, whoever it is, and their presence, their nervous system is going to be talking to the child's nervous system without words. The kid's picking up on whoever else is around. So if mom, dad, whoever can't sit still, can't focus, can't take a break, doesn't slow down, then I'm going to be like, oh, well, this is just how we be. And like, I got to keep going, and I can't take a break. And then it's hard for me to, kids are really looking for that external support. There's a lot of ways that we're co-regulating. So, I've had kids come in and be like, wow, your house is so quiet and calm. Like, this is kind of weird. And also, like, nice. It takes a little while to just be like, sometimes we need to slow down, and it needs to feel safe to slow down. And if no one is showing me that it's safe to slow down, then I don't know how to do that. Our nervous system is meant to have a rhythm. So, like, yes, we can go and have activity, and then we need to take a break. And then we can do some more things, and then we take a break. And if I'm, again, not getting help with that rhythm, if it just feels like it's always go, 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 and then I crash, and then go, 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 and then crash, like, we're not going to be building up access to that rhythm.
That makes sense. Yeah. And we've always been really like conscious of how we act around our children, or like the habits we have or the things we do, just because we know they're watching, we know they're picking up on that. And also just, I mean, even when uh, we would just be stressed and not even saying anything to our children or acting stressed, they would be stressed, or they
Mm-hmm.
would they would just notice that something's up, and it's just because they're so connected. I know a lady, and I don't know the actual modality that she was dabbling in, but it was from another country, though, I know that much. And she was saying that kids at like the age of 7 or something, they start merging from, or moving from, like latching onto their mother's energy to the father's energy at that point for a certain amount of years or whatever. And I just always thought that that was interesting, because like we always have that bond with like our mother or our father, and even if like you're estranged from your parents or whatever, there's still a bond that's there energetically, or however you want to put it. uh, and I just I don't know, basically I bring that up because I was going to ask, have you ever heard of that, like
Mm.
the transitioning from mother to father thing?
Yeah, I think for me, I've seen like different ages of when that happens, different stages of development. But yeah, I think in the beginning, it's really like, am I safe and nourished and taken care of? Like, I need to be attuned to someone's watching me. Someone knows if I cry, it means this. Someone knows if I do this, it means I'm hungry, right? Like, there's somebody there that's like, I am taking good care of like your physical body and like tending to, nurturing, holding, making sure you feel safe. And then at some point, we're like, cool, got it. Now I can start thinking about rules and structures, and where do I fit, and how do I navigate this, and what does this mean, and what does that mean, and like go out into the world and be a little bit more like, who am I? And so I think there's different influences that parents can bring, and it doesn't necessarily have to mean, mother, father, or female, male. I think there's different dynamics of that, but I think, biologically, that's how things are kind of happening, and how we create life. So yeah, I think there's a lot of different stages that we're moving through, and
But you
what
think
I've been doing with
for
kids.
the most part, it's the security and like the needs and stuff being met, which, to go with what you said, can be done by the father or the mother. And we can all, and that's the whole other thing. I think you touched on it. Is just that like men can move into feminine energy as well. And like women can move into masculine energy, and we can all do it all. And we
Yeah.
can, and that's the way it should be. But, yeah, and I can see that, the needing that security and just all of that kind of stuff. So that makes a lot of sense. And then at a certain point, they feel secure and they're like, all right, I feel like I can. And I guess
Yeah.
the more secure and nurturing and just you give them, the better you're setting them up for the rest of their
Yep.
lives. And so then they don't have to necessarily look back and figure out why they don't feel secure or whatever. So
Yeah.
yeah. Well, I love that. So, I guess I would just ask, do you have anything else that you want to touch on before we start to wrap it up?
Yeah, let's see. So maybe I can share a little bit about some things I have coming up.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and if you, while you're doing that, share what you have coming up and just how people can find you, and like just your information and everything, and then we'll wrap it up. And you
Okay.
can look into that
Cool.
camera if you
Okay.
want.
Okay. Yeah. So a couple things coming up. One in March is a workshop for somatics for stress support. So if you're stressed or you know anybody who is, it's really like how do we work with stress, not avoid it and breathe it out and let it go, but like this is reality. The reality is I feel stressed. What do I do about it? How do I work with it? How do I process it? So learning somatic everyday practical skills for working with that. It's March 14th. And then I also am starting a group in April 16th, for women, a 6-week series called Sanctuary. And this is a really like sweet, tender experience for coming into our bodies and our emotions. How do we work with our nervous system as women, which is different than the nervous systems of men, and work with our emotions like grief and anger and pleasure and joy and shame. And we'll each week be moving through different themes, different emotions, in a really kind of intimate group container. So, those are some upcoming in-person experiences. I also facilitate somatic yin yoga twice a month at Kindred Flow, which is in Wyoming, Ohio. And yeah, we have a women's circle here once a month. We kind of keep it like a closed group for most of the year, and then we open it up twice a year. So in the spring, we'll open it up to new folks who are interested in joining our women's circle. We meet once a month, and then we'll kind of keep it closed again for the rest of the spring and the summer, kind of building up that trust and intimacy and connection, and then open it back up in the fall. So working kind of seasonally there, and we explore all kinds of different stuff in that space. It's really sweet.
And then how can they get a hold of you?
Yeah, so you can find me. My website is presencewithlove.com, and I'm on Instagram at Meagan Connley. So we might have to like share the spelling on some of this stuff.
Yes, I'll
But
put it in the description.
yeah, so
Your website's really nice
thank you.
also. Yeah, some
Thanks.
websites are just like, there's a batting cage that I've been practicing with my son for baseball, and I'm like, why can't they just optimize this freaking? It's so easy, just make it easier. But I do love your website, and I love that all of your pictures, or at least most of them, are you, and like it's a genuine picture and not just like a picture you got off of some site or something. So, well, cool. Well, I really do appreciate you being here, and I think this was a really great talk. Tons of stuff for people to think about with this talk, and
Feel about.
yes, yes, feel into it. Yes.
Yeah.
But I appreciate you being here, and maybe we'll have to do it again sometime.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me. Thanks for listening. Really appreciate you all. Sometimes I know that this can be a lot. It can feel overwhelming or big or scary. And I'm just here to say, like, I know I've been there, and we don't have to do it alone.
And it's totally worth it to find someone to help you through the journey.